Okay, so I'm making this video primarily because somebody wanted to localize the text of many of my mods, and this is sort of my fault as well because most of the almost all the text in my mods does not use some kind of like localization file to allow for this. So the text and strings are all like hard coded into the scripts. So localizing that, you kind of need to put the characters in directly into the code, which, yeah, it's not great, but that's how it is right now. And for now, at least, I figure make a video on how to do that, how to rebuild the mods yourself after doing that. So I can hopefully just link to this if this ever happens again for another language or whatever localizer. But as well, this should hopefully explain the entire like building process from source code. So this could be useful for other applications as well. But so in this example, I'm going to be doing it twice. One, I will just build my base mod code, and then show that it works in game and everything. And then I will do it with the provided localized versions. And hopefully doing it twice should make it a little bit easier to follow, possibly, and see what happens and what might go wrong and that kind of thing. But first, I'm going to launch the Unity environment, and then I'll do the all the other stuff involving files and where to put them and stuff. So, uh, I would heavily suggest downloading the application Unity Hub to manage your versions and your basically the versions of your Unity environment and which ones are being used for what, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's the best way to do it, I say. So I have Unity Hub. Gonna open it, and yeah, I changed the color of my mouse to hopefully color and size of the mouse to hopefully make it easier to follow what I'm doing. Um, but in this case, I'm going to be launching for the 1.0.0 version of Daggerfall Unity, even though there is currently newer ones, that the latest technically being 1.1.1. But yeah, this is usually the baseline I go by is 1.0.0, unless I have to go to a newer version to build a mod, like there's new features in it or something like that. But yeah, in my case, even though some of my mods in this instance are currently built for older versions, it doesn't really matter. Like older, you could play newer versions of DFU with mods that are built for older versions, but it can't go the other way around. You can't use mods that were built for a newer version of DFU in a older version of DFU, if that makes sense. So like if somebody built their mod for 1.0 1.1.1, they could not use it for 1.0.0. Like, and not even that they can't use it, it just won't even show up in the mod loader. So that's if that happens, like you don't see the mod in the mod loader even if it's in their mods file, that is most likely the problem there. But yeah, anyway, let's launch 1.0.0, and it shouldn't take very long, but you never know with the the Unity editor. And I could edit this out, but I don't want to edit anything because video editing and having to uh, re whatever you call it, re-render the video is much more annoying than just uploading it raw like this. At least in my instance, where I have an integrated graphics card rather than a dedicated one at the moment. So it takes significantly longer to render a video uh, than just doing it raw like this. So sorry about that. Um, I mean, hopefully in the future I will make it easier for localizers to change the text of my mods, but this is just how I've done it, and it just, this is just the way I know how to do it currently, so, oh well. But, there's useful things to learn from this process as well. Okay, so now we have the Unity editor open. Um, I'm assuming that you've opened this at least like once and you configured your windows, possibly, or whatever. Like, you hopefully will be able to see everything that I am to some extent. I got the inspector tab over here. I got the scene hierarchy over here. I guess the file manager kind of down here. And having the console visible at least in some way, because the console can tell you some very useful things if there's an error or something goes wrong. In this case, these are just normal warnings, so I could just clear them. Um, so the first thing you should do is figure out how to open up DFU in the editor, the actual game. And this is not the most straightforward process. Not that it's hard to do, it's just it's not something you probably think of doing initially. So I have it currently over here. Normally, if you open this without having a scene open from the get-go, it'll show something else than this Daggerfall Unity startup. So whatever it's showing there, ignore that and go to your scenes folder. You should find that in the manager here, and look for the one that says Daggerfall Unity Startup, one of these things. And then right click it and do open. And when you do that, it will open that scene, which will change it to this. And when you have that scene open, whenever you press the play button, it'll open that scene. In this case, this is actually like launching the game of Daggerfall Unity, the launcher and everything. So we're gonna launch it. We're gonna play. And in my case, it maximized the window because you could change that maximize on play and stuff. So the reason I wanted to do this is because I wanted to confirm the version. This is the like probably the more important thing to confirm here is to confirm what version you are currently running in the editor. So, at least from what it says here, I mean, it could be different in the files, but I'm basically positive it's not. But what it says here is release version 1.0.0. That's the main thing you want to know. With that knowledge in hand, because you want this version to match with whatever version you give the mod that you're building in the actual like mod builder tool. So confirm whatever version you have by doing this. And once you've done that, keep note of that. Then you can then you can know what version you want to be building for, basically. What version you want them to match. So I'm not going to open up the mod builder tool right now, but I'm going to actually show where to put the files and what to put there, I guess. So what you should do is if you see this like a file explorer here, this is showing where your project file is for this editor instance or whatever, like what files the editor is looking at as your project currently. So I'm just going to do it through here because this will be based on wherever you have your files at. So I'll just click whatever thing here. I'll just click right click this game folder and then do show in Explorer, and it'll open up at least if you're on Windows. If you're on Linux or something else, I don't have no idea what it'll show, but it'll open up this folder, which is your project folder. So right now let's go back in the hierarchy here of folders until we get to like the original place that this is at. And for me, it is in this Daggerfall Unity 1.0.0. So open that, go to Assets, go to Game, and go to Mods. Keep in mind, this is not where your mods are, like like when you play the game normally. This is not where your mods are. That would be in Streaming Assets. Streaming Assets Mods. This is where you put your .dfmod files for the editor. But this other folder in Assets, in Game, in Mods is, I guess you could make it whatever you want. This is where, like, I guess this is where the editor would look for virtual versions of the mods, the ones that aren't built yet. So just look at it like that. These are like the virtualized versions of the mods that the editor is looking at. But this is where you're going to put your source code for your mods and the files, the folders for your source code for your mods. As you can see, I have a bunch here. And with that in mind, I'm going to get the source code and files and everything for the mod that I'm going to be using as the example in this video, that being Kleptomania. So I'm going to find those files, the original ones that have no translation or anything. And for me, that would be in this over here, Kleptomania. And this is the source code I have for this particular version of Kleptomania. I think I name it something different usually, so I'm going to do that after I copy and paste it into this folder. So I'm going to name it the way that... You don't have to name it like this. This is just how I do it. This is my standard way of naming it. Take that out. So, yeah, DFU-Kleptomania. Now with the source code files in here, source code and all the other stuff, textures, scripts, everything. I'm going to open up the editor again, and that will take a little bit to import those added assets. And that won't pop up. Well, it might pop up for you, but that's not important if you're not doing any coding or anything. But in my case, it opens up Visual Studio, the code editor. But you shouldn't have to worry about that once it lets me minimize this bullshit. Yeah, thank you. Jeez, come on, fuck. Okay, so after it did that, after it imported the files, you'll see like the stuff pop up and you can just clear it, not a big deal. But after that, after the importing process, you will now find in your editor that folder, Kleptomania. And this is where, as at least if you have all the assets, the source code assets and everything you need, this is where you can open up the Daggerfall Tools tab up here. If this doesn't show up, this Daggerfall Tools tab, that means that there is some error that happened in the editor and you have to clear that error before it'll show up, basically. But if nothing happens, then it should show up. But if you don't see this, there's something wrong. But in our case, it is here. Daggerfall Tools. Go down, left click it, and then go down to Mod Builder, which will bring up this window, which thankfully it is empty right now. So this is what you would see generally. But when you see this, you would say, because you want to open up a mod's settings. So open existing mod settings file, left click that, and go to the folder that you want, which in this case is Kleptomania, and open this up, the mod name .dfmod.json. Open that up, because this is the mod settings folder, and then you will see something like this. I'll explain some of these, like the mod title. Almost all of these are not like required necessarily, like they're not that important at the end of the day. I'd obviously fill them as you want them to be, or as they, or leave them as they are, but the most important one is this one right here. DF Daggerfall, whatever, DF Unity, Daggerfall Unity version. Mod version doesn't matter nearly as much as the Daggerfall Unity version. This is what you want to see matched up to whatever version you are building from, or like whatever version of the editor you are using, you want this version to match up, basically. This is the important part, and the person I was helping, or trying to help with this, the translation, I think this is what caused the issue that you couldn't see, or you were having problems. I think this is the issue, is that the version was different. Basically, I think. But since we know what version the editor is in, we're going to change this to 1.0.0 and have that match up to the version we know. You can change the description text if you want, localizer and everything, that's up to you. And you shouldn't have to change anything else here. So just for the sake of it, after doing that, do save mod settings to file. Click that at least once. And then the next important thing is the build path. This, I don't know what it shows by default. But this is basically just wherever you think the mod is going to be built to. As long as you know where that is, that's all that really matters. But just make sure you know where that is. But in this case, this is what I prefer to use. So hit left click set, and I think it'll usually send you to the assets folder of the current build that you of the current editor build that you're in, the project or whatever. There should be a folder called untracked, and yeah, untracked, and then there might be a mod builder folder in there, but if there isn't, you could just probably put it in untracked. But I'm gonna select the mod builder folder within the untracked folder, select that as my build path. So now you can save again just for the hell of it. Everything else here, I'm fairly certain, is exactly how I want it to be. So now with that in mind, I'm going to click the build mod. Now, if you want to build for other versions, you can do that if you want. But in my case, I'm just gonna build for Windows for simplicity's sake. So left click build mod, and whatever name it gives it, that's the name that I think you have the mod name for. I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the name it gives it before the .dfmod extension. So when this pops up, just say save, because that's where we want it to build. Save. Huh. Uh-oh. What happened here? Apparently asset not found. Really? Well, I guess we'll do some live troubleshooting here then. Asset not found. Item templates.json. Why is that? Uh, okay. Item templates.json. Okay, I'm guessing something went awry here. So let's go back to the mod builder and let's look in here. Oh, I know what happened is because this is actually the this is the name of the folder that I used. So, that's I mean, that's a good thing that this showed up because then I can kind of explain what happened here, and if it happens to you, then maybe it'll make more sense. So, you could see these names for the assets. And the file path for them is assets slash or dash game or whatever backslash game backslash mods backslash dfu in all caps dash mod underscore kleptomania. That's the issue. Is I did not rename the folder to what it originally had in this case. Now you could re-add all the assets to reflect this new folder name, and that would work. But what I'm just going to do to make it easier, I'm just going to change the folder name to exactly what that says. So all caps dfu dash mod underscore kleptomania. Now, after doing this, it'll probably have to re-import the file, potentially have to re-import the files because the name changed. Yeah, how did I forget that? Yeah, all the other ones had the same thing. So that was just me screwing up, but that's a good thing. All right, mod underscore kleptomania. Okay, so now with that changed, it might have to re-import the files with that. Yeah, kind of annoying, but as I said, better I show that off happening than somebody else experience that and not know what to do. Okay, will you please let yes. Okay, good. So that re-imported the stuff. Now let's go back to the mod builder again, and I'll have to open up the thing again because the name changed and everything. The stuff was re-imported. So kleptomania, that .json open, and this stuff should still be the same. But now the file paths will match, uh, should match exactly to what they say for the asset import stuff. Okay, now with that in mind, let's do mod builder. Let's do build mod again. Hit save, and then let it do its thing. And I don't think it'll show this for everybody. Once again, it might with the editor or the code editor, but yeah. And I usually don't like to click anywhere when this is happening, just because it opens up like other windows and stuff. So I just kind of let it do its thing. But I'll try and close this. Okay, I think it finished building. So I could X out of this, and it'll show all these like warnings and stuff, which don't think are important. Open mod, blah blah blah. So now we will check. We will check our mods folder again, which we should still probably have open, and then go to where our build path was. So it was in assets. So yeah, assets, untracked, mod builder, I don't know why that happened. Uh, yeah, I don't know why it did that, but uh, yeah, I'm not sure why it did that. Sometimes it does that shit where it just like it builds some of the files or like I don't fucking know, but either way, all that you care is that wherever version that you built for, that you can find the dfmod file in there. So in this case, it was for standalone Windows. And then we'll look up, oh well, it's right there anyway, kleptomania.dfmod. All these other ones, the manifest and the metas, you don't care about. The only one you care about is the mod name .dfmod file. And it'll usually be the biggest one in terms of size. So this one, we will do Control C to copy it. I'll close out of this for now. And now we have our mod, our .df mod. So I'm going to put this in a in a test version of DFU, I guess, like a live version of DFU. So in this case, I'll be doing the most recent version 1.1.1, and just do as you normally would for a mod, df mod, and just put it in the mods folder. Then launch the game, and we should see it in the mod low, whatever you call it, the mod list, the mod list. So there it is, Kleptomania. See, it is for version DFU version 1.0.0. Mod description still English and everything. And just for the sake of it, we will test it real quick in game, which you always should. I have a save just outside of Sentinel Castle, because that is a guaranteed place to see some stuff to test Kleptomania with. And now it should bring up this grab menu. Uh-oh. It did not. Why is that? Kleptomania. Wait a minute. Did I fuck up? I must have fucked up. I must have fucked up somewhere here. Um, what could it have been? I feel like the files, I probably didn't actually have all of them or something. Uh, something went wrong, which is both good and bad, because now I could showcase things that go wrong. So what the hell happened here? Show an explorer, mod kleptomania. Hmm. Got the textures, got the scripts. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I think I fucked up there. This is, I have these things in the what is it? I have these things linked differently in my, when I have my source code stuff saved, so I shouldn't have this folder. Uh, so yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this stuff like this. Delete that. Textures, scripts. I think that's all the scripts. Item templates, mod settings. Now, would that have been the problem? Uh, not certain. But let's see, I guess. Let's go back to mod builder. You got this stuff. Mod version, that. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to do precompile, which that could be an issue, but I'm not certain. But I should have done that either way, because I normally would. Mm, yeah, that all seems right.
Here he comes. Watch it.
So, okay. I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to make sure to hit precompile. Even though I don't know if that would be the issue, but I will do that anyway. Build again. And it's weird because that time it didn't do the BS where it opened up the window or whatever. So, uh, well, what's it? A metadata file, meta exists, but not blah 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 blah. Oh, I think that was for some of the other shit, but okay. It should have been rebuilt again. Now let's go back to where that would be. Assets, untracked, mod builder, and standalone windows, kleptomania. And then that was the most recent time, so let's try that now. Let us try that now. It's mods. Delete the old one. Put that one in. And launch the game and see what happens. Right, mods, kleptomania, mod description, settings, they're all there. Boom. And play, and hopefully it works. Please work. Yeah, okay. I don't know exactly what happened there. Maybe it was because I didn't precompile it. Which maybe that's what other, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because I didn't precompile it, but either way, I always precompile now, so in my case, make sure to check precompile before building. Um, but yeah, as we can see, it is functional. Uh, but yeah, as we can see, the mod is functional. Even though I fucked up a few times there, but once again, that's good. Um, okay, so now with that tested and working, now I'm going to do the translated version. Um, and hopefully that works in the same way, and hopefully that explains better how to do this or whatever. Hopefully that's the final thing I need to explain how to do this. So these are the files that this person, I doubt they care, but I won't say their name for not anonymity's sake or whatever. But these are the files that are translated with the string, well, like with the texture here changed, as well as the scripts, the strings changed, and everything. Um, so I'm going to take these files and put them where I had the other files, which in my case is in here in my project folder or whatever you want to call it, games, mods. So now I'm just going to delete the old one and then copy and paste that one. And it probably will need to re-import after I do that, which it usually does when you do stuff like that. And it re-imported. And it should be in there. Right here, Kleptomania. So now that I have the translated file or translated files in there, I'm going to go back to Daggerfall Tools, Mod Builder, and just for the sake, I mean, clearly I don't need to but just for the sake of repetition, I will do this again, the JSON file, and as you can see, the version is correct the version is correct to what version we're using. But that's that's probably the most important thing, is just make sure that this version matches whatever version you are building in of the editor of the editor basically. The files, the names look all right and everything, like just like before. But I mean, you can obviously see in the mod description it is not English anymore, so that's good. And this was changed, so that's good. Everything else looks fine. So I'm just going to build once again just for Windows, because I can see that everything else seems fine. I'll do save. Make sure, at least in this case, make sure you check pre-compile, and then do build mod again, and save, and then let the mod build. Do its thing. If you're doing for multiple versions like Linux and Apple or whatever, this will usually take like 3 or 4 times longer, but that's especially if you do it the first time for the first time. But yeah, so it built again. Now let's go back to the folder we know that we built in. Assets, untracked, mod builder, and standalone Windows, Kleptomania. And you can see that the file size changed because the texture provided was much bigger than my original texture because it's much higher resolution. But that's good, and the date and everything, so it did build. So let's copy, paste there, and and go back to our testing environment, our live testing environment. And streaming assets, mods, delete that, put this in, and launch. Now, just to keep in mind, I don't have the translated, the localized fonts for this, so I probably should have done that, but I'm just lazy. But I don't have the localized fonts for this particular language. And for depending on the characters of said language, DFU's 2 default fonts will not be able to display them. So I am not going to see all I'm going to see is question marks where those characters would be. I'm just going to see question marks, but that will also tell me that it did work, because that the characters are different. So as you can see in the mod description, it's all just question marks basically. So that means that this did work, even though we can't see the text properly. But if you did have those translated fonts installed, then it should display them properly as you'd expect. But once again, let's test. Test in game. And we should see question marks, which we do. And we should also see the updated texture, which we do. And so, in this instance, oops, well, in this instance, god damn it, and die. But in this instance, everything appears to be working correctly. Yeah, okay. So, that worked. I'm going to take it out of my mod folder just because. Yeah. So, after you've done that, is there anything else that I need to say about that? I think that's all I really needed to show in this instance that I'm remembering at this point. For the if you were going to say upload a translated version of the mod, what you should do is I mean, you could just kind of copy what they do in the Nexus folder or whatever, the Nexus kind of thing. But what you should do for the these mod managers that people have is basically make the hierarchy that they would expect. So, for example, I'm just going to do code. Yeah, I'm just going to go to one of the source code for let's just say basic magic regen. It doesn't matter. And I got the dfmod, copy and paste it onto the desktop here. But I will first make a folder called mods, and I will put this inside of that folder. And when I compress it into a .zip or whatever thing you .zip or .raw or .7-zip, then it becomes this, which you can upload to the Nexus. But don't keep the name like this. Keep it, name it to whatever you want to name it. Basic magic regen version like 1.2 or whatever the hell, 1.20. So then you could upload that to Nexus, and as you can see, the mod managers that people would expect to have a mods folder, and then it would make it easier for the user, I guess, in those cases. But that's how I would compress the folder, or whatever you call it. That's how I would structure the folder that you're uploading. But this whole process, you should be able to do the same thing as in Ivan's sake here. Should be able to do the same with locked loot containers as you wanted. If any errors show up, that you definitely can't figure out, obviously try to get in contact with the mod author and ask them if they can assist you or figure out what's going on, I guess. But in this case, it should work the exact same. Just make sure you got your file paths correct. You got especially the version that you're building in correct. And sometimes if you're building in a newer version, that could cause problems too, which is why I would suggest maybe not updating to it, maybe not building for a newer version than the mod was already built if possible. So in my case, 1.0.0 I think is always going to be fine. But 1.1.1 could potentially cause some errors, maybe. just something to keep in mind. But that's the most important thing. Other than that, I think I know this went on way too damn long as all my stuff does, but hopefully that helps. And yeah, if you have questions, get in contact with me and all that stuff. But yeah, hopefully this helps describe what you have to do, and hope it works out. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.